You can do this one on this one.
Okay.
But you're going to say, when food and life meet. And then you can say me, Laurie, the mom entrepreneur. Okay. And then you're going to do one clean, like, clap.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
When food and life meet, Laurie, the momtrepreneur planner.
So where are you taking me, Laurie? Where are we going?
Go. You ready for a trip?
Where are we going?
Let's see. What sounds fabulous today? You know.
Where can this plane take me? Can it take me to like, I don't know, like LA or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's done trips. He doesn't do long distance trips, but he has done trips to Vegas, which I've heard are fabulous. I haven't done that, but he has taken me to Catalina.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, so we don't have a pilot here, but her husband is a pilot. Laurie's already ready to take me somewhere. I'm like,
I'm not flying. I don't even like to fly.
I was going to ask you, do you like flying?
No.
Does your husband, obviously he's aware of this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was aware of it from day one.
You're like, cool, you can be a pilot and like, you can go on your flights and I can just wait for you at home, right?
Yeah, when he first got his pilot's license, he was like, come and have lunch with me at the airport, and he was prepping a plane, and he took me to Catalina.
Oh my gosh.
Scared the crap out of me.
Oh my God. Well, I'm very excited because I've never done an interview at a hangar in front of a beautiful plane, so thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This is very exciting. And I think, and this plane will come into the conversation, by the way, like what you're like, that's what's really cool about your story is this idea of like, you can dream anything and you can go for it. And so that's what's really exciting for me to talk with you today, Laurie. So let's get into it. Let's introduce Laurie. I always like to ask my guests.
Yes.
Here we go. So she's known online as the mom, I'm saying it right? Momtrepreneur.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. Momtrepreneur planner.
Yes.
Laurie. But I always like to ask my guests, who are you really?
Yeah. You know, there's a few facets to that, to be honest.
Okay.
You know, there's the mom side. Okay. I have to be a mom, which made the Momtrepreneur Planner what it is. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a wife. But mostly I'm a creative. I'm a dreamer. And I love helping other women do the same. So there's so many facets to who I am, and I just try to embrace the heck out of all of them.
Oof, and I felt it. I personally felt this inspiration, this motivation. I was able to attend one of her events because she's on tour right now, and we'll make sure in the description to put all the information there. Yeah. But I was on one of her tours, and I remember just sitting there, and you're just like, you're going off it in a beautiful way. And I think us as women, you know, there's a lot of things that we're experiencing, both, you know, personally, professionally, emotionally, all this stuff. And I'm just standing there, and Laurie's just like going off, and I'm just like, yes, like I need this in my life, you know. And I also understand that, like, I also was very curious. I was like, who is this person, and how do you get to that sort of space to be able to motivate yourself to motivate other people? And so today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that Laurie already knows. She's already prepped. So she's not gonna be like, geez, Jackie, damn, like you're asking me these.
In the business. No, I am an open book, so I'm happy to share it all.
Exciting. So before that, we gotta eat. Well, Laurie, you want to tell them about what we got here in front of us?
Yeah, so I am a Southern California native, born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley. And in the San Gabriel Valley, there's this wonderful, amazing donut shop that anybody from around here really knows. It's called the Donut Man. And they are known for their seasonal fruit-filled donuts. And so today we have their strawberry donut and their apple-filled donut, which happens to be my favorite. But their most famous donut is the strawberry. And so Jackie's going to be taste testing that for us today.
And I'm going to take my little B camera roll here. Because people have told me, they're like, you need a close-up on that food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I respect that. So this is the one that she has, is the apple-filled, right?
Yes.
Wow. Can you tell us about the sort of texture?
Yeah,
of the
so
bread?
it's like a glazed donut that they sort of scoop out or cut out the inside, and they just fill the crap out of it with fruit. So it's amazing. Yeah. They also have during the summer, I believe, or maybe closer to the fall, they have peach donuts as well, which are amazing. Those are not in season right now because otherwise that would have been on my plate.
We'll have to come back or something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's take so how are we going to eat this? So
I don't know, because I'm like,
you just go, okay.
I'm going to look really messy on camera with this because I said there's two ways that we're going to eat it, like, or just taking a bite.
We're gonna be classy right now, but afterwards we're gonna
Yeah.
and I think your husband's over here
He's diving into
devouring.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God.
Good.
I'm like, I need to get my hair back. So I get
It's all over my face.
Okay.
But yes, these are some of our favorites. Now the Donut Man is open 24 hours a day.
Shut up.
So if you go at 10 o'clock at night, there's a line outside. And it's just like a little fruit stand type thing, but it's amazing. Good.
You know what's so great about it is like, I'm not feeling guilty right now because there's all this fruit.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I'm eating my, what is it? Pyramid portion
right? Of the fruit.
Yes.
Oh my God. So you have a sweet tooth then, I say?
I do. I've gotten better at it. I get it from my dad. My dad, he's always had a sweet tooth. Like we were the lucky kids that always got to go get candy, but it wasn't because of us. It was because my dad wanted candy. Yeah.
That's true, because usually the parents are the ones.
Yeah. And they're like, no candy.
Wait, so do you give your kids fruit or candy, or what's the deal there?
We do. We let them, indulge a little. Mostly because of us, because my husband's also a sweet tooth too. We like to try, especially trying like places like the Donut Man, which we've been going to for years, but we recently tried like a churro company that does like ice cream, all these different things, and then we tried a s'mores one, like, it's just trying the fun stuff is,
I love that.
What is life for if you can't enjoy a little bit of sweets
Sorry,
and not feel guilty about it.
This donut, right? I agree. This donut is. So I'm more of a salty person, to be honest, but like if I want something sweet, it's a donut. But this, I'm just sitting with this.
And it wasn't even, knowing the name of it.
Yeah, what? Let's hear it.
Yeah, it was just like, immediately this is what popped in.
You're like, donut.
Yeah, like
donut.
If it's something, you gotta know about the donut.
Okay, so what's interesting, so I've been going around asking people, donut, torta.
I like that.
And it's like, there's people who are like immediately donut, like it's like the sweetness, and then there's people who are like the torta. So I just find that fascinating. Like,
no, I'm very half and half. Like, I don't know if I would be able to choose.
Well, why do you have to choose? Why can't you have both?
Have it all.
Have it all.
Have it all.
Have it all. Which is a good segue to this idea of dreaming and career. I feel like it's a natural place for us to start talking, because I feel like that is what's, propelled you and all this stuff. And so I've interviewed quite a few entrepreneurs, and we talk about the journey, but I like that you're real about it. Like you're like, and I think it's important for anybody out there who's thinking about being an entrepreneur to understand the realness of what this journey is. And
100%.
So what comes to mind when you think about, like, if you're going to talk real about what it means to be an entrepreneur?
Hold on.
Yeah, take off the blazer. I'm in.
Comfortable here. Yeah, so for myself, I'm very fortunate. I am the product of entrepreneurs. So my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad's parents were also entrepreneurs. My grandfather had a gardening route that he had. And so I've seen it my whole life. So for me, it's just been this, like, this is normal. Being... working crazy hours, weird hours, sometimes working 80 hours a week just to have like a month vacation or, whatever, not even a month vacation, let's be real. But, I've seen that my whole life, so it felt normal, but realizing that it wasn't normal. Yeah. Realizing how many women struggled with, working a 9-to-5 and trying to raise kids, like that really sparked me. So these last 5 years have been so incredible for me to help other women with that. But entrepreneurship is hard. Like, let's be real. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. It is the hardest thing you can do, but it can also be the most rewarding. It takes you places you never could have dreamed, right?
I'm out of
here. Yeah, I mean, even this, and we'll get into it, of course, like this started, my husband was I want to buy a plane. And I was like, okay, yeah.
We're going to circle back, we promise, we promise. Okay.
And, then we got real, and it's like, well, why can't we buy a plane? And helping him and feeding into him and his beliefs too. And that's a big part of it, is just really, really, truly believing. But he's also an entrepreneur, which makes life extra interesting. But yeah, it's just not for the faint of heart. And you have to love the challenge. You have to love the thrill. You have to love all of the downs that come, because the highs, the ups are so good when they come. But it's not easy. And I'm the first to say that in every room. Entrepreneurship is not easy.
Can you think of a time when you're like, you know, because it is a roller coaster when you're kind of down there and you're like, oh God, like I think about a roller coaster literally where you're like, you're down and you're like, or even a mountain, right? And you're just like, damn, like I was just up there and now I'm down here. How do I get back up there? Like is it about being comfortable with that? Or like what helps you in those moments where you're like, okay, gotta go back up, you know?
It's not even about feeling comfortable. It's like feeling like getting really comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, they come so often that you just have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. And just what I think we don't realize is we focus so much on the here and now, like what's happening, that we forget to back the microscope up and look at the bigger picture of like how far we've come. Because on a daily basis, the things feel so small and insignificant, these steps that we're taking, and they're just like these little baby things. But then when I look back to just 5 years ago, I'm like, holy crap, we bought a plane, we bought a cabin in Big Bear, and we did all these things like just in the last 5 years. And but when we look at our day-to-day, like the hardships of every day, then it doesn't feel as rewarding. It's so backing up the microscope and making sure to focus on the bigger picture rather than the hardships of day-to-day is so important. But I hit so many of those downs in both of my businesses and in life in general. And so it's just getting really comfortable with being uncomfortable.
You mentioned you have 2 businesses, by the way.
I do.
So I do want to quickly talk about them. So the one that was inspired by your grandma, can we talk about that? Because my thing is, like, when you see entrepreneurs, you're like, how did they come up with this idea? Like, this business idea is genius. Like, that to me gets me really, really excited. And when you talked about, which you will share right now, I'm just like, oh my God, like, do you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, and I'm going to back it up really quick because my dad. I've been an entrepreneur for so many years. I mean, I will say my entrepreneurship, that spark, that spirit in me started back in grade school. I was selling pencils on the playground, you know. But
wait, can we stop there then for a second? Okay, so I'm curious. How old were you at that time? Like you're 8 years old?
Third grade.
Third grade. Okay. So let's go back to that time because this is my point. Is like. That Laurie is the same Laurie that I'm seeing right now. Absolutely. You know, that spirit of you. So you're 8 years old. Like, what is motivating you at 8 years old, and what's making you happy about doing that, selling the pencils? Like,
I don't know. It was just like I would get stuff and I would see that you could make money off of it, and like, okay, and then you can utilize that money to go to like, you know, the Sanrio store.
Love the Sanrio store.
Right? Like. You can take that money and turn it into something more. And it just got me early on that you can have something better by just putting in a little bit of work and making a little money off of it.
I love that. I love it. Okay, so you're saying that, this is where you started.
So, you know, and back out of high school, my husband and I had just started dating, and we had decided, I was selling cell phones at the mall.
You're kidding me.
No, I was one of those cell phone slingers. And that was the time where they were like, hey, come here, you know, like, let me talk to you. So yeah, I was one of those. Hated it, but in retrospect, it was one of the best things because I learned sales skills really early on, which is one of the biggest skills that you can have as an entrepreneur.
I was going to say, people underestimate that word, sales. It's all sales, baby.
Because everybody thinks it's scary. Yeah. But once you learn it early on, it helps so much. But we had decided, you know what, why am I making money for somebody else, that entrepreneurial spirit, when we could sell cell phones ourselves? And so we opened up a cell phone store. So many mistakes made, but we ended up just walking away scot-free. in the meantime, we had started another business doing printing that we had built into a multiple six-figure business. We had contracts with like NFL players and to do their like youth sports programs and things. So it was crazy. And at the time, my husband was working full time. I was going to school to be a teacher of all things.
No kidding. Wow.
And it just, I say all this because it plays into it. And I remember one day my dad telling me, he said, you know, you just keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and eventually something will stick. And it's when you least expect it and when you least anticipate it that life works out for you. And, you know, during that time, I started helping my friend build his company, a plumbing company. And we took it from just this idea where he was like, yeah, I want to build a plumbing company. And I said, okay. And I helped him with his marketing, did everything from the ground up with him, built it to almost a $2 million shop before I left in 5 years. But during that time, and this, you know, goes to what your question was, but during that time, my grandmother had passed away. My son was a year old, and for her funeral, I just wanted something more to remember her by. Her and I had a very close relationship, and she was an avid gardener. She loved her garden. She, not only did she love her garden, like when we look at fruit, like she grew some of the tastiest fruit, like anything that you can think of, grapes and avocados, watermelon, like anything. She just had a knack for it, a green thumb. So for her funeral, I created a seed packet. They were flower seeds, and they just said, you know, please sow these seeds in loving memory of Gloria Moreno. And we passed them out at her funeral. And at the time, nothing like that online existed. There was seed packets for weddings, and that's where I kind of got the idea from. But I was like, I need something to remember her. And after her funeral, everybody loved them, loved them. And after her funeral, I put them online, and they started taking off. And I'm still working for my friend at the time, and they just started creeping up. And then it just started taking off, and it was that one strand of spaghetti that stuck.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it just took off to the point where I was able to transition it. And of course, with my support system, the help of my husband, I was able to quit and be able to do that full time.
Wow. Did you ever talk to your dad about that afterwards? Like about remembering that conversation about the spaghetti?
Oh yeah, my dad and I always grew up thinking I was going to be like my mom. My mom is such like a tender heart, patient, loving. I always wanted 4 kids just like my mom. And then once I got older, I realized I was not my mom. I was my dad. Oh! And he loves talking about entrepreneurship and things like that. So we talk all the time. He sends me, his favorite thing now is to send me like reels and Facebook stories on entrepreneurship things. He just sent me one yesterday from Steve Jobs.
Let's hear it. What is it?
Yeah, it was talking about the power of the ask. Like, not, you know, he'll send it to me, he'll text them to me because that's how he knows how to do it. But it was just the power of the ask, not being afraid to get on the phone and actually talk to people. One of the things my dad always tells me is don't be afraid to talk to people. Because in today's day and age, it's so easy to sit behind a DM, sit behind an email. You don't get on the phone, but when you actually talk to people, something changes. There's a dynamic that changes. It's harder for people to say no. People are more inclined to want to help. And so that's what the reel was that he sent me yesterday. But
thank you, Laurie's dad.
Yeah.
You know, there's moments where it's hard to hear advice.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about like when your dad told you this story about the spaghetti, did you think in that moment you're like, oh, Dad, like, or were you like, yeah, like, how do you kind of help your own mindset of like believing?
Yeah, I think you hear it and you sort of put it back here and you just let things play out. But then when it happens in retrospect, you're able to look back and be like, oh, that was the strand that stuck, you know? And my husband and I have sort of the same mentality now. Is like, let's just keep doing things. And even within our own businesses, you know, there's a lot of spaghetti throwing happening, you know, trial and error and different marketing techniques and stuff like that you have to just try.
Yeah. the growing the seeds with the company that you have, it made me think. Recently, I was on a retreat, and this is what's inspired this question: is this idea of we ourselves are growing roots, our own home roots, I guess you could say. And I was like, am I at that age now? And I was like, that's what we're doing now. But it kind of like shook me, and it also motivated me, because I'm like, oh my God, okay, so what? I'm like, all right, like what kind of roots do I want to have in my home, in my space? Because we're at that point where, well, you have children and stuff, but even with like what you're doing with your clients and in this tour, like you're growing a sort of movement and roots. Like, can you share a little bit about what roots you think you're growing, and like what are you trying to grow?
Yeah,
Laurie?
I didn't know what that was for a long time, to be honest.
Okay.
It was, the Gloria's Garden, which is what it is called. I named it after my grandma. That's our seed packet business, which we expanded to other products now. But that started 9 years ago now, 9.5 years. Yeah. So
it's crazy.
It's been
a journey.
Definitely. But during that time, and I know we'll get into it, is when I started the Momtrepreneur Planner.
Okay.
What I didn't realize when I started the Momtrepreneur Planner was how much of my passion lied there. Like I told you, I went to school to be a teacher, and I love entrepreneurship. The idea of building Gloria's Garden into what it is today, I'm super proud of. I'm super proud of helping my friend build his business and everything I did with that. And it just was this natural thing where I started the Momtrepreneur Planner as a physical planner to help me keep my mom life and my entrepreneur life, keep it all together. And because of the pandemic and a bunch of stuff, the physical side of it couldn't continue, but the roots, I feel, started to take place there. And that's where my mentorship group formed. And the mentorship group that formed from that that's where I see my roots really planting and it really expanding into something amazing and beautiful for women, for mom entrepreneurs, to really help them grow. And if you think of a tree, right? The roots is what stabilizes the tree. And once you have that in place, like the beautiful fruit is made to grow, is what I feel like is the beauty of everything that's taking place right now.
Yeah, it literally, the tree starts growing, the plant starts growing, and you're like seeing the fruit of your labor, as they say.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good way to start talking about this plane and dreams and all this stuff.
Yes.
So I'm on this tour with her, right? I'm sitting here and she's talking about the dream lane. You talked about the dream lane of there's going to be a lot of people a lot of things in your way to cause doubt, concern. You're like, something happens and you're like, maybe this isn't meant for me, but I just remember you telling us that you have to stay on the lane. You have to stay in your dream lane, that is your direction. And it really spoke to me because I was, there's personal stuff and whatnot. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, yeah, if you, just because there's things that come into play that maybe kind of move you around, doesn't mean that the dream isn't valid or it's not worthy of it.
100%.
And that was why I want you to share with everyone how you started with your husband, alongside your husband, making these dreams come true. Because I think a lot of people think about the dreams, but they go, I think you said it earlier, you're but people say or this, or why not? And then it's
the cloudiness.
Yeah, the cloudiness. There we go. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You being an entrepreneur, you obviously have a vision, you have a dream, you have this big idea, but then life happens, right? Whether that's having kids or people talking. In my mentorship group this past week, one of the women was like, she just started, actually, of all things, she started a mini donut cart. Yes, so fun. She was mentioning that her friends and family were questioning her pricing. That's way too much. That's not valid. You can't do something like that. You can't charge that for donuts. But in our mentorship group, we talk about pricing yourself for profit, making sure that you're, if you're not making a profit, you don't have a business, right?
I mean,
and
can we take a moment to understand that? That's so true. Well, yeah, it's, I think you hit something really important, because you do meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and even me, I'm like, and how do you get that confidence to, like you said, what do you say? How did you say?
Price for profit.
Price for profit, yeah.
And so I have a worksheet in the mentorship group that they get access to. Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to figure that out. Like, what does that actually look like? And it's not just looking at the physical cost of things, but your time and all of the extra energetic things that go into it as well. But knowing that allows you to have more confidence in selling your products and your services, because then you're like, no, this is what it's worth. And if I'm not selling it for this amount, then I'm not making money and I don't have a business. And that's the whole point of it, right? Yeah. But having the confidence in that, but to what you were saying, when you start with that dream, everything starts with a dream. Yes. Everything starts with a dream. And that dream is this like white fluffy dream cloud, right? And it's how do you make that white fluffy dream cloud more tangible? Or tangible in any way. And it's a process. It's a breakdown of steps, and it's what I teach in my Live in Our Dreams tour in the workshops, because it's a vision board workshop. But what a lot of people don't realize is it's not like a pretty cut and paste, put it on a wall. It's part of it. Yeah. That's like the very first little itty bitty baby step. And when I do these workshops, I feel like everybody stops there and they're like, oh. And I'm like,
you're like, wait.
We got a whole 2 other hours of diving deep here. But it's that breakdown of it and how you actually turn it into reality. And that started right before the planner was launched. And I actually based my planner off of the process that I teach in the Live in Our Dreams tour. But that started with my husband and I taking a trip. We're bogged down by life, by work, by business, by everything, a child. And I said, we just need to get away. We need to I just need to clear my brain. I need time to think. So I booked a one-night hotel off of a Groupon of all things, and had my mom babysit our son for one night. My husband and I got to the hotel, and I had pens and paper, just clean, fresh paper and highlighters and everything. And
You're ready to go.
Had packed an ice chest with drinks and snacks, and he was ready to go out on the town. And I was like, no, we're sitting right here. And we're going to lay this out for ourselves. And that's really where it started. And we did. And first clean sheet of paper was what is your biggest, wildest dreams? And that's where one of them for him was buying an airplane. And for myself, I had dreams of my business, and for our family to grow, we had a lot of fertility issues. So that was another thing that came into play. When we talk about the stress of life, right? But laying it all out like that, and then really taking the next steps, is what allowed us to really put our dreams into a more tangible state, where we were okay, you start with these baby steps and we can get there. We can, and we have.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you here, and I'm like, you have what I hope, I'm sure that people you interact with, you probably give off that, and they're probably gotta catch that energy of yours. But you do have an ardent belief in because I'm thinking about, who's the girl that was let's go to this Airbnb and let's get our stuff ready. That part for me is really interesting, because most people would be like, shit, this is never gonna happen. Let's just avoid. Let's avoid the things we can't have. Let's go out on the night of a town and do whatever. But there's something about you, Laurie, that you're just no, I care enough about my dreams. I care enough to be let's think about that stuff. Yeah. It's almost like you what you're allowing yourself. Is there a journey that you've taken inward to get to space like that? Because that's pretty I don't know if you know. Not most people are not like that. Most people are shit, no, it's not gonna happen. But you're no, vámonos.
I don't think it was a journey I took. I think it was the being fortunate in what I grew up with, to be honest. I'm very, very fortunate. And I know not a lot of people have parents who can support crazy dreams like mine have. I mean, they've supported some crazy dreams. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Thank you. It's true. It's important. Yeah.
But I think that they've always just instilled in me to just, like, it's okay to go for it. So I feel like I attribute that to them 100%.
Aww.
And to me, knowing now that there's not a lot of people who have that, I'm trying to be that for them. I'm definitely trying to be that. And so a lot of the women in my mentorship group, they'll say that, like, I don't have family support. I don't have the support of my parents or, anybody. And one of the things about me is I don't ask family to support me. Like, don't buy stuff for my business. A lot of people get online and they're so mad that their family doesn't support them. And I'm like, well, maybe they're not your ideal customers. And, that's okay. They're like, my family would rather buy from celebrities. Well, they're a celebrity ideal customer. They're not yours. Yeah. But I will say that the planning side of it, that's the one quality I got from my mom.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good one. But
see, you are kind of like your mom.
I got a little bit.
You got a little.
I got the good stuff.
Yeah, this planning. Okay, so it takes a certain brain to really just dive into this planning. For you, because I did the exercise where you like break down, how to get towards this. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get lost, right? Because they're like, wait, I have to do all this for that. Yeah. And you're just like, like for you, do you think that that's also a sign for people to be like, well, then do you really want it? Like, how do you, motivate people to, when they get kind of stuck in the steps?
It's always a clarity thing when you're feeling,
clarity.
I always say it, an uncertain mind will always say no.
Say that again.
An uncertain mind will always say no. An unsure mind will always say no. Okay. And so when you feel yourself held back, not really going after your dreams, there's something unclear there. And you need to take the time. You need to take the time out to really get clear on it. And to be honest, I didn't even realize that was what I was doing when I booked the Groupon hotel and we went. Like I didn't realize it until we got there and we sat there and we laid everything out and we were able to walk away from that with such a clear mind with those steps to move forward. But I'm going to take a step back really quick because one thing that you were talking about, the dream lane.
Yeah, the dream lane,
and it's so important to have that vision and hold it as steadfast as possible, have the belief, keep going towards it, but be flexible with how you get there.
Be flexible.
Be flexible with how you get there.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, things happen. Life happens. You get sick, kids get sick, something happens with a family member, or it could be opposite. It could be just random stuff that gets in the way, or people saying stuff where you lose your belief system. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. But holding that dream so steadfast and just continually, even when the people closest to you make comments that sometimes they don't even realize they're making. I live off of the 4 Agreements, the book, The 4 Agreements. Have you read it?
I'm going to give a shout out to Martha Rivera, who told me about this book, and I have yet to read it. But this is a reminder, apparently.
This is your reminder.
Can you share with us?
So I live off of the 4 Agreements. And I mean, that book really, truly changed my life because it's not one of the agreements is not to take things personally. And that's a daily struggle that even I have to this day because I'll hear, like, I'm telling you, even the closest people to you will make comments that they don't even realize how they're affecting you. No. But when you get into the space of awareness of what they say and how it can affect you, and understanding that when people say stuff, it really is a reflection of themselves and not of you, you get such a bigger understanding for it. But really, the 4 Agreements was one of the biggest game changers in my life for that. But really understanding that, it doesn't matter what people say as long as you believe it. Yeah. And sometimes you're going to waver because people will say stuff and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work out, or maybe this is, and you just have to, a million times over, just keep going. Keep, fighting your way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Good job, though. Good call. Okay, yeah.
You just have to keep fighting your way towards it and just keep marching steadfast towards that dream. And again, as things happen, you just roll with the punches and stay flexible getting there.
And that is such a crucial thing. Dreams are probably the most personal thing, I think. Yeah. And I think that's why when people make comments, that, some of us are like, wait. But I think it's about, like you said, like really, it's really about protecting your dream and understanding that, like, when people say things, you can take it in, but they don't know your dream like you do.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's also a quote that says, like, don't share your big dreams with small minds. Because,
damn. Yeah. That's a good one.
Because small-minded people don't understand it. Like, my whole life, from outside people, I've been told, you're doing too much. You are too much.
I love that one. I love that one. You're too much.
Yeah, I'm too much for you. Who am I too much for? For you? Or, like, maybe you think I'm doing too much because this isn't something you can handle.
Yeah.
But I'm handling it, like, I'm doing okay. Don't get me wrong, my husband can attest. Like, I go crazy often, but, it's...
You love it, though. I can tell. What do you love about, like, your dreams and being an entrepreneur? Like, what do you love about it?
I think it's the thrill of the chase, to be honest.
What about it?
Yeah. It's just that thing that's, like, just slightly out of reach, and it's like, I know we can get it. I know we can get this. And then there's been a lot of backlash on people like myself who are dream chasers, and they go after it because they say, like, well, once you get to it, then it's like, what's next? You find another dream and you go after it. And maybe you don't understand my crazy entrepreneurial spirit, but I do. And, we had that first meeting 5 years ago when we sat down, and it was like, my husband wanted a plane, and we wanted to buy a cabin in Big Bear. None of this we thought would be possible in like 10, 15 years.
Okay, now we're going to talk about motherhood. This is actually extra special for me because I'm finally exploring this part of my life. And to be honest, like, I never thought I wanted to be a mom, like, literally. And last year it was weird, Laurie. It was like overnight, all of a sudden, I'm like, baby eggs everywhere. Like,
you got the baby fever?
Yes. I believe in it now. I'm like, holy moly. But for me, more than anything, it's like there's this yearning to, like, have a relationship with this other being. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So you're a mom. I think the first question I want to ask you is, I always ask a lot of people this, but, like, when you find out you're pregnant, like, that moment, whether it's a test or a stick, whatever, like, I always think about, like, is there a switch in your head? Like, does it feel like, what is that? Well, how was that moment for you?
No. Well, the saying that I've heard is that, like, women become a mom the second, like you said, that they find out that they have a kid, and a father doesn't become a dad until the kid is there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was because of our journey and everything that we went through. Like I said, we had a very long fertility journey, and I don't know if it was because of that, but it wasn't as exciting when we took that test and found out that we were pregnant. It was more of disbelief, like, and it wasn't what I planned it to be. Like, I wanted it to be where I found out and I made it a surprise for my husband. It was this, like, beautiful thing. And I think, like, after you take so many tests and it's so disheartening and all of that, I think that morning he was, like, taking a shower, and I was like, I'm just gonna take a test. And I just, like, went in there and, like, peed on a stick, and I was like,
Now we're going to talk about motherhood. This is actually extra special for me because I'm finally exploring this part of my life. And to be honest, like, I never thought I wanted to be a mom, like, literally. And last year it was weird, Laurie. It was like overnight, all of a sudden, I'm like, baby eggs everywhere. Like,
you got the baby fever?
Yes. I believe in it now. I'm like, holy moly. But for me, more than anything, it's like there's this yearning to like have a relationship with this other being. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So you're a mom. I think the first question I want to ask you is, I always ask a lot of people this, but like when you find out you're pregnant, like that moment, whether it's a test or a stick, whatever, like I always think about like, is there a switch in your head? Like, does it feel like, what is that? How was that moment for you?
No, well, the saying that I've heard is that like, you know, women become a mom the second, like you said, that they find out that they have a kid, and a father doesn't become a dad until the kid is there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was because of our journey and everything that we went through. Like I said, we had a very long fertility journey, and I don't know if it was because of that, but it wasn't as exciting when we took that test and found out that we were pregnant. It was more of disbelief, like, you know, and it wasn't what I planned it to be. Like, I wanted it to be where I found out and I made it a surprise for my husband. It was this like beautiful thing. And I think like after you take so many tests and it's so disheartening and all of that, I think that morning he was like taking a shower and I was like, I'm just gonna take a test. And I just like went in there and like peed on a stick and I was like, so no, I don't think there's really that like switch. I will say you get all this advice, right? Like, you know, with your sleep, like get ready for never sleeping again. And like, you get all of that advice. And while it's all true, like I will be more honest than anything. You will never know what to expect until you become a parent. Like there's no...
hit me, Laurie, hit me. Let's go.
There is no preparation for becoming a parent. And I had one kid who never slept ever. And I cried every single night for 3 years straight.
Oh my goodness.
And then I have another kid who has slept through the night since day one. So I've had both experiences. But becoming a mom has definitely been the hardest journey. Harder than entrepreneurship, harder than anything.
That's a good point, because I'm thinking you dream big, you're an entrepreneur, and you're like, I could be a mom, but you're saying, what was it what made it so challenging when you compare it to like the other roles in your life? I mean,
you can't control it. Like, you know, I could, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you can take an action that has a reaction, you know, like you can do something when it comes to marketing, like, okay, I'm going to try this new thing and see how it works. Like with a kid, you're like, okay, do this. And they're like,
opposite.
Like, you know, trying, especially our first, he never slept through the night. And it was and my husband was working full time at the time, working really bad hours. And so I felt like it was really on my shoulders to be there for my son at night. And my husband would help, but it was just hard. And you are never, I don't care how many people tell you, like, get ready for no sleep. Like, you will never understand it until you're there and that full-blown exhaustion hits you. And my oldest just turned 10 this past week. Our little one is 4. Aww. And I don't know if that exhaustion ever leaves you. They sleep in their own beds and they sleep through the night now, but it's like a different level of go, 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 always having to be on that you don't realize. And being an entrepreneur first, and then being a parent, I realized like, what the heck did I do with all of my time
when I wasn't
a mom?
Wow.
I was like, in my brain now, in retrospect, I'm like, I could have built $5 million businesses. I could have written a book. I could have done all these things. What the heck was I doing? And I just look back on our time and like, we enjoyed ourselves and we enjoyed life and we would go, you know, have a couple drinks every you know, you don't realize what you're doing until you have kids and there's no time for anything. Because now we're doing martial arts and baseball and there's practice and there's games and there's all these things in between that make it more difficult. And I'm not going to say there's the rewarding aspect to it, but motherhood has been a challenge for me. Having that type A personality, that on the go personality, motherhood has definitely been a challenge in that sense of your time is just very different. And that right there alone is what has drawn me so much to helping other mom entrepreneurs. Because let's face it, as women, we have a headwind against us, just as women, period. It's harder to be a woman in a workplace. We are paid less than men, statistically paid less than men. Now take yourself out of the workplace, then you look at just being an entrepreneur. There's something physiologically, different between us and men that, and not in all cases, but from my own experience and what I witnessed is when it comes to entrepreneurship, we also have that headwind against us and we don't take as many risks. We're more strategic with what we do. And in entrepreneurship, you need that risk taking a little bit more. So we have this headwind no matter what as women.
Okay.
Putting the mom side apart, right? But then you become a mom.
Oh, it's a whole thing.
And there's so much more that comes into it because you can't just think about yourself. You have to think about a household. You have to think about the kids. You have all of these things. And so that headwind just becomes so much stronger.
Oh my goodness.
So for me, that's where my passion and helping, that's where I niche down truly. Because people ask me like, why don't you help men with small businesses or women who aren't moms? And I'm like, look, because they have time. They have time. And it's not that I'm against it because I had fertility issues and it took me a long time to get to having that title.
Yeah.
But other people have time and we just, our time is very different. And so being able to help mom entrepreneurs navigate that and still be able to provide, income for their families and support their families, that has been the biggest passion of my life.
It's funny because I was going to ask you, like, what has it taught you? But now you've answered that for me. What advice do you, like, so it's interesting, like, for me, and maybe I'm crazy, but I'm like, I feel very ready. Like, I'm not trying to be dismissive of, like, all the challenges that will come my way, being a mom and an entrepreneur, but I'm also, like, I'm ready. I'm ready for all of it. And is that weird though? Because I'm scaring I'm like, why am I not like more scared? Like, what do you think?
I was ready too. Like I was all for it. I mean, I had a second.
Yeah, you're like,
you didn't learn from the first. I feel like as just human beings, we have a need for belonging, and I feel like children give you that. Like you would think that it's the other way around, but when you have a living, breathing creature that needs you, it gives you that sense of belonging of like no matter where you're at, and and the fact that you can either uplift them from wherever you're starting at because you've had a supportive family, or whether you're changing the narrative and completely giving them a different path. I feel like I don't think it's crazy. I think it's,
I hear that a lot. I hear that. That's definitely, what you just said really is definitely a big reason of my why, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then what advice would you have if you're like any entrepreneurs out there who are like, looking to potentially grow a family? Like any quick tips to prepare?
Well, I don't know if they're quick.
Or in preparation, I would say. Yeah. In preparation phase, if you're like,
so
I'm scared.
I'm a big, proprietor of getting your systems in place with everything, your business. Like in my Momtrepreneur mentorship group, that's one of our biggest focuses is getting your systems and your business in place, but also in your life. And when I talk about systems, it's like, what are the processes and procedures that are happening? Like, I'll give you the smallest, stupidest system that I recently implemented in my life that I was like, how did this change my life so significantly? You're gonna laugh.
I'm excited.
So I recently bought a new car, and one of the things in my old car was that like there was always trash, and I would always try to take it out, but there was always trash. Like I have two kids, and we are in the car a lot. And my husband would even be like, how do you get so much trash in the car? It's like, because look, by the time I get out of the car, we're taking backpacks and all this stuff. And like, there's no hands to carry the trash out. And so not that my car was like a pigsty, like I'd get there and clean it out every once in a while, but it was just this one thing. So I bought the new car.
Okay.
I bought a trash can for the car, like an actual trash can.
Oh, literally?
Yeah. It's in my car.
I love it.
And I put it in the car. We have no trash in the car now. And at the end of the week, we take the trash bag out. And it's one of those systems that you don't think about that you put in place. But I have other systems, like in my household or just in my life. If you follow me on social media, I'm a shameless plug at the Momtrepreneur Planner.
Please. Oh, we're going to have a description. Don't worry. Yeah.
But...
No shame. No shame, by the way. No shameless plugging.
Yeah. But one of the things that I share often on Sundays, and this is just a silly one, is like put gas in your car every Sunday. Or that one day a week that you are not stressed out and going crazy, put gas in your car, because what is like the light turning red in your car in the most inopportune times, or like stressing, do you have enough gas or do you not, like is always one of those stressors that we don't realize we do to ourselves.
Yeah.
But I got in the habit of putting gas in my car every Sunday when we're just like, it's a lazy Sunday. We're driving around. Maybe we're going to get donuts or something.
Maybe. You
put gas in the car, fill it up, and now that whole week you don't have to stress about it. So it's just implementing systems like that and realizing what those systems are in your life and in your business to A, make things easier, but B, also getting other people on board with you, whether that's your family members, like my husband and my boys, we do chores on Sunday and everybody knows like what their chores are, but it makes life easier. And chores as simple as my 4-year-old, his chore is to replenish the toilet paper, the extra toilet paper holders. So he thinks it's fun. He gets the new toilet paper and stacks it up, right? Like what kids don't love stacking?
Anna, are you listening to this? She's going to love that comment.
So we do that every Sunday. So during the week, you're not left sitting on the toilet without toilet paper. But it's these little tiny things that you start implementing both in life and in business. Yeah. But paying attention to those things now before you become a parent.
I'm like jotting down.
Yeah.
Because Anna's always like, people say like, oh, you'll figure it out. And so her and I are obviously different personalities, but for me, I'm like, yeah. And she's just like, I don't like that. I'm like, why? She's like, I don't know. I just feel like people, that's a way of like dismissing, like, I'm like, well, yeah, like you're going to have to do things. Like, I'm just curious what your opinion is about, like when people say like, you just figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do believe that everything is figure outable. And I mean, becoming a parent, unfortunately, that's a big part of it, is like kind of figure it out as you go. Like these systems that I'm talking about, like I didn't implement those before I had kids. It wasn't until I had kids and life got crazy that it's like, oh, we need a new system to make this more efficient in our household. But in business, that's one thing that I've always been really good and strong about is creating the systems, because, if you don't have systems in place, then everything on the outside is working you instead of you working it.
Did you all hear that? I feel like it's also applicable to life too, personal life, huh?
Oh, 100%.
What I really appreciate about what you're sharing too today was the site earlier when you were talking about finding out you were pregnant and it was like you took so many tests. It's funny because even in the last year, I would say, there's people that I know that it's just like there's another side to baby life or pregnancy and fertility journeys.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to talk about that stuff, because it's not just. And then honestly, you even see people who are pregnant and you're like, you don't even know what they went through. Like,
oh, yeah.
So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what you learned, I guess I would say, in your fertility journey, like what helped you through it, because it is your journey, right? Like it's a part of your journey and you kind of have to honor that for you. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think as a woman, you have this expectation that it's just going to happen when it happens. And then when you're going through it and it doesn't happen and you're like, okay, but yeah, my husband and I, we struggled with getting pregnant with our first. It took us 6 years, I want to say, and just wasn't happening. We were going through the process of everything and doing all the testing and getting checked, and they're telling us everything's fine, everything looks fine. And I know for some women that's not even the case. There's other underlying issues. But and you can hear people say it where they're like, just stop trying and then it'll happen. That's when it happens. That's why you hear so many women who start the adoption process and then they get pregnant because they stop trying and then they get pregnant. But when you're a woman and you have that desire to have this thing or get pregnant, you can't, there's no switch that you can turn off where you stop trying.
Thank you. I'm like, what is that about? Like,
but I can attest to the fact of how true it is that when you do stop trying, it does happen. And for me, it was a book that just happened to come into my life. Look, when you're around me, you're going to get a lot of book recommendations. I actually have. No, on my Instagram, in my link in the bio, I have a link that says Laurie's favorites. So all these books that I talk about, the 4 agreements, everything is all linked in there.
Oh my God, okay.
But another book, it's called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And she just talks about like not giving up, but giving in. So you're trying to get pregnant, like you can't give up, right? But you can sort of release and give in. And I would say it was towards the end of that time where we had just been trying. My husband had to give me shots in the stomach and like for these drugs and stuff, and it was horrible. Like I felt bad for him because he felt like he was hurting me, and I'm like, it's not you, but this hurts so bad.
Oh man, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I started reading that book, and it really was just about like releasing the mindset around it. Because what we don't realize, and this goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about, the belief, right?
That belief.
We talk about how much our mindset affects what we're doing. And that mindset, things that we don't even realize we're telling ourselves until we tune into what our brain is doing up there, right? And when I started listening, like actually listening to what my brain was saying, I was expecting my period to come. I was seeing pregnant women and was telling myself like, well, that's not happening for us anytime soon. Like, I didn't even realize these things were going until I started listening to them. And in the book, she talks about like, number one, really listening to that to hear what you're telling yourself. And then after you listen to it, then start counteracting that with positive beliefs and doing it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times a day and just practicing it. So I was like, okay, I mean, we've gone through all this fertility stuff. What can it hurt?
Yeah, what can it hurt? Oh man.
So just starting that belief process and just saying no, like every single time you hear those negative thoughts, counteracting them with the positive thoughts. Like, nope, I can get pregnant. We will get pregnant. It's going to happen for us. And just, and at first you don't realize how many negative thoughts pop into your head a day until you start doing that.
I hear that.
And having to repeat to myself hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times a day that it could happen. And a month after that, we were pregnant, naturally, without any of the treatment that we went through. Yeah. So I did have,
my gosh.
I had a surgery sometime before that. They found that I had endometriosis, which was strange to them because they're like, you have no signs for it. But it was mild. They cleared it out and they're like, okay, so we did another treatment and it still didn't work. And so it was like, there's nothing more. And the next step for us was not to do in vitro. We decided against that, like way too much money to push something like that.
It is.
And there's too many kids out there that don't have a home. So our next step was to go into the adoption process.
Yeah. May I ask, like in those moments where you were like, okay, 100 times you're doing the positive, like, were there moments where you're like, you couldn't muster that positive, the insecurity comes in and you're like, because to me, I'm like, yeah, like I can tell myself, like I see a mom with her kid and I can try to make it positive and be like, oh, I can't wait for that to happen. But what I start to think about is like, oh my God, what if it doesn't happen? Like, am I going to look like am I going to be so disappointed? I'm going to be such a fool. That's what I think. That's my mind. That's how I think.
It takes you there. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, you have to invest yourself fully into it, into the belief. And what I told myself was like, okay, for the next, I told myself 3 months. I said for the next 3 months, I'm going to invest myself so fully into this thought process of just constantly counteracting it. And I didn't need to do it for 3 months. I did it for a month.
Oh my gosh.
But there's an exercise. I'm gonna give you guys an exercise. Okay.
I'm excited.
I don't even know where I heard this exercise the first time, but I've been doing it and sharing it for years.
Okay.
So if you want to really practice, because this is actually an art form of manifestation, right?
Okay, yeah, that's true.
That's what it is. And so if you want to practice it, it's called the blue butterfly exercise, okay? And it doesn't happen right now. Like, I don't want you to think that's going to happen right now. But we're going to start it right now. And the way that you practice it is just believing that you're going to see a blue butterfly.
Okay.
Like, you're going to see a blue butterfly.
Okay.
Blue butterflies always come around you. Blue butterflies are always in sight for you. Blue butterflies are everywhere. They come to you, right? Like, see, hear me?
Yeah, it's very positive.
Keep repeating this to yourself, because this is the mindset thing. Because then your mind might tell you, like, blue butterflies, like they're so rare, they don't exist. Like, when does a blue butterfly just come, right? No. Keep repeating this. I see blue butterflies, blue butterflies, and it's sort of a tongue twister.
I know. I'm like, you're doing good, girl.
Blue butterflies are attracted to me. All these positive things. Just keep saying it.
Okay.
Tell yourself that for the next 3 months, you're going to say it every single day. Every single time this thought pops in your brain about what we're talking about right now, you are going to repeat all these positive affirmations that blue butterflies will find you. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And I promise you, in like sometime in the next couple weeks, months even, you're going to message me in my DMs and you're going to be like, Laurie, oh my God.
Look at it. I'll take a picture of it.
I just had it happen last week. I shared it with somebody and it didn't even take her a full 7 days. And she was messaging me. She's like, I cannot believe this. And she's like, but I what I tell everybody is you have to fully invest in this idea. If you want to see it happen, you have to repeat these things every single day. Every single time you think about it, practice the affirmations. Just do it.
I was going to say, do you feel like what you're saying right now is also applicable to like dreams and belief and believing?
100%. That's how we got our cabin.
Oh.
How I believe we got it anyway. Like, being able to, being able to think about the moment we get the call that said we got the keys for our cabin, and just visualizing it. Visualization is another one. Affirming it that we were going to get the cabin and it was going to work out. Like, again, I invested my thought process in that and saying these things every single day. And like, half the time I wouldn't even tell my husband that these things were going on in my brain, but I was just doing it because I was so invested in the idea behind it. And I would tell myself, like, for the next, X amount of days or for the next X amount of time, I'm just going to invest in this thought process and just keep thinking the positive thoughts, the positive beliefs, no matter what my brain's telling me, because your brain's going to tell you some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, what do you think about this negativity? Because when I think of I think my insecurities or my doubts of like being positive is like, oh man, like I start to doubt. Like, I guess that's the only thing that came up to right now is like this idea of doubting, like this negativity, this doubt. Like, what is your interpretation of that? Like, when you feel those things? Yeah.
Natural human thing that we do. Okay, ready? I roll my eyes because I'm gonna give you another book recommendation.
I love it, dude. We're gonna have the link of her books. You're gonna
have a whole library of books after talking to me.
I'm excited.
So there's a book called The Big Leap, and in the book, The Big Leap, in the opening chapter, he talks about humans and how at one point when they were just coming out with steam engines, right? Like everything was horse-drawn carriages.
Yes.
And when they were first coming out with steam engines, there was this belief that if they hit over 40 miles an hour, that your heads would explode.
Okay.
Like literally.
Oh my gosh.
People's heads would explode. But it took that one person to be like, I'm gonna push the envelope and see if my head explodes.
Oh shoot.
To where they went past it, and now look at steam engines today and all the transportation that we have today, right? But what he says with that story is like, we have these limiting beliefs that hold us back, and it just is that it's that matter of acknowledging them and understanding that, because as humans we feel like we have a He calls it the upper limit. We have this upper limit problem. And as humans, we just always feel like there's this upper limit to happiness, to wealth, to anything, that there's this upper limit. And we hold ourselves down to it. If you, this is, oh man, we can get into like so much good stuff. So if you are really invested in something, and it happens to me to this day because I'm still practicing and trying to get it, but I'll be ready to do a really, really big project or something that's super exciting and fun, and like I'm so ready for it, but it's uncomfortable. It might be a big risk. It might be something, and I'm so excited, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna get started. And then the next day you wake up with a sore throat and you're sick for a week.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, go on.
So this is what he calls our upper limit problem. Like, we hold ourselves back in these ways. And so getting into your life and understanding that it's okay to always be happy. It's okay, like, allow yourself that permission to be happy. Allow yourself that, or give yourself that permission to be like, it's okay to have good things happen to me all the time. Because what our minds want to say is like, you know, we hear these things all the time, like, you know, the other ball is going to drop at some point, or like, you know,
that negativity, that doubt, the concern.
Something always has to go wrong. Like, something, it will fall eventually, right?
Okay.
But what he says in that book is like, stop, just stop. And it goes back to what You Can Heal Your Life, what Louise Hay said, is like, you have to counteract these thoughts all the time. You have to be so consciously aware of them that you're continuously speaking out the positive side of it. And that's exactly like the blue butterfly exercise that I just shared here. It's just a practice of that. It's practicing those positive thoughts, those positive beliefs, and learning how, if you invest yourself in them and you keep doing it and keep doing it, it's just that practice of it. But you have to invest yourself in it. And there's moments where you'll falter, but just keep doing it. And then the more you practice it, just like anything, the better you get at making it a bigger part of your life, where those voices tend to mute a little bit more. They're not as loud. And just continually practicing that. And it gets hard, but it is hard. But when you learn how to practice that on a daily basis, it gets so much easier.
I'm going to throw a doozy at you.
Okay.
I didn't even tell her about this because it's something I recently learned.
Okay.
So I was like, you're inspiring me here. I'm curious. Do you know who Michael Singer is? I didn't know about who he was until like literally 2 weeks ago.
Singer.
He's a spiritual guy.
Sounds very familiar.
So he talks about how, I'm not going to articulate it like he does, but I'm going to try. But I'm curious what you think. I really want to know what your thoughts are around this. That a lot of the times when we're like struggling or suffering internally, a lot of the times it's because we spend so much time trying to make sure we're okay. But this idea of like not being okay is like, we're just,
scared of it.
Yeah, and he even compares it to like when heroin addicts, like their happiness is trying to get the feeling of this drug.
Yeah.
And sometimes we chase this idea of like, we just want to not be uncomfortable, or we don't want to be unwell, right? Yeah. And so we're just like chasing, and so it's exhausting. It's like, and it's also like recognizing like time out, like understand that like you have to accept reality around you. Like, and I never really knew that about myself. I'm like, damn, that hit me hard, because for me it was like, reality has always scared me. And I don't know how to explain that, in the sense that like, sometimes it's the irony here is that like a lot of my dreams and ambition is because sometimes I'm want to challenge reality, to be honest. Like so I'm just like trying to kind of come to a place where I'm like, I can still have my dreams and like build a life for myself, but I also have to recognize reality, which I think comes into play with what you were saying earlier, which is about being flexible, because life happens, you know? So that definitely, but yeah, I just was like, oh my God, like reality. And so I've been trying to work through that of like, okay, this is reality. This is what's in my head. Like, does any of this resonate to you? Do you have any thoughts?
I'm gonna look at him because we just had this conversation.
Really? Holy moly.
So my husband's background is in law enforcement before he retired out. He took an early retirement, mental health, which we're going to jump into.
Yep. I guess we already are.
Yeah, took a big toll. And so he retired out of law enforcement. But one of the things that we've been together for 20 years now.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he has instilled in me from early on, like always being aware of your surroundings. And like, he has this thing where he's always like, not fearful. I'll be careful with my words because he's not afraid.
Yeah.
He's just overly aware of things happening. And so we had the conversation because he said, like, this was his point. He said, do we ever get to the point where like, maybe we're not living life just because we're not living carefree, we're not living life. Like we're not enjoying ourselves as much as we could if we just lived carefree. And I feel like for myself, there's like
Okay.
I feel like, again, I'm that half and half, right? I'm like, I really feel like you can't be so naive not to be aware of your surroundings, but you also have to believe that you're going to be okay and that good things can happen, you know, going back to this idea from the book. And just, so yeah, there's a weird, like half and half between reality and beliefs and, you know, knowing and understanding we're going to be okay.
Right.
But part of the reason why we're going to be okay also is because we're aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's almost like you're doing your part, right?
Yeah.
Like you're doing your part in your business and you're being a mom, like you're doing your part. And it's like, I think about like, well, you can't give more than you don't have, you know? So if it's like, if you're doing your part in taking care of yourself and doing what you got to do for your business, your personal life, the rest is, well, reality will always tell you, you know? And I think in those moments, it's like, I told Anna, I was like, reality's a bitch sometimes.
100%.
But we're the special ones. Like we as humans, like we live in this reality. And so we have to make sure that we're like doing what we can to protect ourselves or to take care of ourselves, you know? But you have to, but at the same time, like reality, kind of what your husband was saying about like, it's true. It's like, yeah, like at the same time, like, yeah, like do your part, but also like relax. But part of what he's saying is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because part of being able to be relaxed is being like believing you have to believe that
you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you're going to be okay and that good things can happen for you because
100%.
Yeah, because it's like if you don't have that belief, then you're just going to coast through life like just that negativity, man. Like I swear that negativity can just
You don't realize how negative you're being until you really start focusing. Like I have a coaching client. I've talked to my husband about this because energetically I do one-on-one coaching as well for small business mom entrepreneurs. And energetically, when you're just talking to somebody and they just like don't have that belief in themselves or what they're doing and everything is negative, it's like, but I talked to her about it and I'm like, come on, we're gonna like listen to yourself, hear what you're saying. Like we have to turn this around. You need to start believing in yourself before anything's gonna happen. And let me tell you, I will say like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I was on a call with her and I didn't even realize till I got off the call, I was like,
what?
Something switched.
Oh,
she had a switch.
Okay.
And every single call since then, she's just been so much more positive, so much more everything. And just in the last week, she had messaged in our group, she's also part of the mentorship group, like, I got all these orders this week and it's so amazing and blah, blah. And it's just like, there it is. Like, there it is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a time and place, you know, I think there's a good segue to mental health too, is like, honoring, like it's almost like you have to honor, that's what I'm learning at my ripe age of 36, right? You have to honor like the anxious, the worrisome, but also the joy and the happy, and you have to honor them all, but it's like, they're all just moments, they're all just feelings that, you know, pass through you. So what happens, I'm sure, is like these people get stuck in that. They just hold on to that. They hold on to that feeling and they're like, it's living here. And it's like, oh, if it lives there, it's going to, what is it? Rot. It's not going to rot, but it's going to impact your home, your housing, everything. Or whatever. Right?
And that's how they say, like, physical ailments stem from holding on to certain things for, like certain emotions for too long. Like if you are constantly stressed out, your body's going to tell you that. Your body's going to show you that in certain ways. If you're like such an angry person, your body's going to show you that.
Yeah.
That's also, in the book, You Can Heal Your Life. She talks about that as well, how physical ailments come
Oh my gosh.
out from the mental side of it.
Oof. I mean, when I was dealing with some heavy depression, anxiety, like my gut felt it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I was, feeling better, taking care of myself, I was feeling better too physically. So
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to that personally. For you, speaking of depression and anxiety, like what, you had mentioned like identifying triggers or like understanding how to navigate that stuff. What comes to mind?
Well, I mean, I would say I've had roller coasters in my life. I went through like a 2-year depression, didn't even realize I was in a depression.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that fun? You're like,
so fun. It was before kids, well before kids, but it was a deep depression where like I had serious insomnia, like all the things. It was so bad. And I remember like the culmination of it, me realizing what had happened. It was me sitting in the doctor's office for like a routine checkup. I was just there. And I was feeling everything. And the doctor came in. I was just like, ready to play cool and coy and be like, ready for my, let's go. And she was like, hi, Laurie, how's everything going? And I just like lost it. I just started crying uncontrollably. And she was like, hold on, what's going on? But at that point, I didn't understand any part of mental health or anything like that. And I'm still, I feel like you're still learning it, but the pandemic was another one that highlighted that for me with our son. He was in kindergarten. Our youngest was born 2.5 months before the pandemic hit.
No way. Oh,
my husband was still working. I was at home with a kindergartner doing virtual learning on a computer and an infant.
Wow.
By myself.
Oh my God.
But that wasn't even the hard part. That wasn't even the hard part.
Oh my gosh.
We got through that. We made it happen. And I was running 2 businesses at the time. We made it happen.
Oh my gosh, Laurie.
The hard part was the aftermath. Our oldest, he ended up with severe separation anxiety. What came of that for me was that he could not leave my side for anything. If I had to go to the bathroom, he had to either sit in the bathroom with me or right outside the door. He couldn't be away from me. And I couldn't explain it to anybody, but I was like, I feel like I'm suffocating. And that's, as a mom, you feel the guilt in even just saying that. But the truth was that I just felt so, like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't be my own person. The first thing you asked me in this interview was, who are you? And I have so many facets to me, but when you are stuck on only one of those facets for so long, like only being mom on, because at the time I was breastfeeding, I'm dealing with this infant and all this, like,
oh my gosh,
having to be mom for so long without really being able to be entrepreneur Laurie or just Laurie who enjoys reading. And, I couldn't be any of that. And you realize what that does to you. And my husband and I had a big conversation where I was like, I need to get away. I need to get away from all of you. And you feel so bad saying that, but I'm like, I need to just catch my breath and breathe and be these other parts of me. So that way I could be a better part to all of you guys, you know, to be the wife part and the mom part. And thankfully, at the time, my husband, he didn't understand it. And now he, like, he had his own mental health journey as well, retiring and stuff. But thankfully, that conversation after dealing with my son, I mean, this was now a few years ago. But that helps so much because now we have an understanding where we both need those breaks. We both need that. And then we also need them together. That one's been the hardest one. We haven't really had the chance to get those breaks together as much lately. We're really, really dying for one of those right now. Especially after coming off of spring break and kids home and traveling with kids. But no, just to touch on what you were saying, there are triggers that come out, and it's just being aware of what that is. And sometimes when you're feeling like stressed and overwhelmed, and it's taking that pause, remembering like an unclear mind's always going to say no, an unclear mind's always going to shut down. And so taking that pause to really get clear for yourself, to get clear for your family, to get clear for your business or whatever,
Beautiful.
those different parts of your life are. And when you take that pause, it truly allows you to like get back on track and understand. And from that understanding and clarity, then you can keep moving forward.
We're allowed that pause.
Yes, 100%.
Like you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to take one a few months back. I went to a summit.
Okay. How was it?
It was intense. So it didn't really allow me that pause, but because I was away from my kids for like 3 or 4 days and the husband for 3 or 4 days, coming back, it was like, wait a minute.
You're like, wait, it's not
and I was sick through it all. So it was like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we need that and we are allowed it. You have to, you have to give it to yourself.
Yeah, I think you tell me about mental health journey and how you're still learning things. And
yeah,
I think something that, like when people talk about healing, it's like, it's a whole process. Like you think you're healing and then there's just more. It's like what I'm learning is it's a continuous thing,
Oh yeah.
But it's also like, I don't know, I find it very rewarding in the sense of like, man, I'm like, I really feel like I'm getting to know myself and love myself, because I feel like, I don't know, when you're navigating life, you're growing up as a teenager and you're in 20s, you're just kind of just like all over the place. You're just trying to figure out who you are, trying to try things.
What you like.
And now I'm just in this chapter of like really understanding like, who am I and what do I enjoy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that silly?
Absolutely. No, not at all. It really is, because that was a hard question for me for a long time, because everyone's like, well, what kind of hobbies do you have? And I'm like, well, I mean, I like to read. I like going on RV trips with my family. Like we upgraded our RV too as part of our vision board, and we did that, and we love doing that kind of stuff. But I'm like, I really enjoy talking about business. I really enjoy put me in front of, a table like this, and we'll just, I can go on for hours and hours and hours, and we can talk about it. Like my husband and he'll set up like a fire pit in our backyard, and we'll just talk about business and ideas.
Ooh,
and that I enjoy that. And I used to be like, something's wrong with me because this is what I enjoy.
Thank you. But yeah, this is what you love.
Yeah. Yes. I love Disney movies. Are you a fan of Disney movies?
I am a fan of Disney movies. They make me so happy.
Okay, but not only that, I feel like if you really listen to Disney songs, Disney movies, they like really can speak to you in different ways. There is
100%
a song in the movie Moana.
Oh my God. I was literally going to think of that song. Okay, tell me
how far I'll go, right? And there's a lyric where she says like, what is wrong with me? Because she's talking about wanting to go out into the sea, like beyond what people can see, beyond what people can understand and comprehend. And in my brain, I'm like, this is entrepreneurship, like shit.
Oh shit.
Going out there, you're forbidden from it because nobody else understands it. And she's saying like, why do I keep wanting to go out there? Like, what is wrong with me? Yeah. And so I feel like, that's another side of it, is thinking like, what's wrong with me that this is what I enjoy?
But there's nothing wrong with you.
No, there's nothing wrong with me.
This is who you are.
Yeah.
Like it's your essence. It's like,
yeah,
and embracing that.
Yeah.
Like being like, I don't care what other people think, like really loving the things you love.
And when you start to embrace it, and I feel like I'm in my next season. So I went through the figuring it out, having fun in my 20s, but like learning what you like and don't like, but really understanding that in my 30s. And now I'm going into this next chapter where I'm just embracing it. And the most beautiful thing comes when you start embracing things, is that they just start to flow. You go, instead of like trying to navigate your way upstream, you're just sort of like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it, and it just starts to flow. And I feel like for a long time in building my mentorship group, I was trying to go upstream with it. I was like almost not forcing it, but it was just so hard. And I decided, you know what, I love this. I love showing up every week in my group, and I'm just gonna embrace the heck out of it and know that it'll grow.
I love
and
that.
Just in the last 4 or 5 months, it just started to grow organically without me having to like put it out there and promote it. It just started working, and these ladies show up in the group every week, we have weekly Zoom calls where we talk about topics on business, on motherhood, on system, everything, mindset, money, everything. And then we also have a group chat where they can ask questions and share. And so these women show up and they're amazing. And for me, embracing that and saying, there's nothing wrong with me, with what I'm doing, and believing that it's going to become eventually what I know it will become, which is a much bigger group of women.
I mean, and that's
supporting each other.
Honestly, what that example is a great example of this journey we call life is it's not a race, you really are, and there's this genuineness to you that you're just like, I'm supporting these women, and you believe that it will get to a point, but you're still you're building something, and you're present, and you're, like I said, you're genuine. So these are the roots, you know what I mean? Those are the roots, and the tree will blossom, Just so eager to hit these milestones, but it doesn't. What's a better way to say it's not the destination, it's the journey? Because I don't want to use that.
Yeah. So what I always say is, the question I always tell people to ask themselves is, whose time frame are you on anyway? Because we're so held up on this, and I don't want to say expectation, but we are so involved in having to get it done and wanting to get it done, and it needs to happen now, and but it's well, whose time frame are you on anyway? Enjoy it and do it, and make it work. And it is work. You're going to have to do the things to get it to the place where you want it, but really just giving yourself that time and that grace, and allowing things, again, keeping steadfast on that dream, but staying flexible with how you get there. And that was another thing that came into play with motherhood. And now that my boys are school age, dropping them off and then having to figure who's going to pick them up, right? You have there's a whole other side to it where it's a more stop and go. And then you can get frustrated and be I'm not where I want to be or where I need to be. And it's well, whose time frame are you on anyway?
Yeah.
Just keep going towards it. I'm sure everybody has seen those things on social media where it's Martha Stewart didn't create her company until she was 40 or 50, and Oprah didn't become Oprah until she was 50 or something. I don't know, but you've seen them, right?
Yes.
And it really is true. We put so much pressure on ourselves to get it done now.
Yes.
And we feel we need to be where we want to be tomorrow, instead of just allowing ourselves to just keep taking those baby steps and working. And part of that comes from being in such an instant gratification society. Why do get rich quick and weight loss schemes to this day still get people?
Yes.
Because we are in such an instant gratification society.
Yep.
And you have to learn that, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. There's a lot that comes into it before you can get there. And you just have to hold the dream and keep chipping away at it.
Yeah. And time is a currency. So it's why do you want to fast forward 10 years? Enjoy the,
journey.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed this journey with you this morning, I guess, right?
It's
almost
a little afternoon now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can stay here hours, I know, but maybe we can always do another part 2, you never know.
Yes, I would love that.
But yeah, thank you so much, Laurie, for
absolutely
being so open with us today.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get on the plane, right?
Let's go.
We're gonna go pick up your kid.
Fly into school.
Any final parting words to anybody out there?
Yeah, just
this camera right here, Laurie, right here. You're talking to them right here.
Keep the dream. Keep working at it. Whatever you dream can actually become your reality as long as you stay invested in it long enough and break it down and just take those baby steps and enjoy them along the way. That's what it takes.
Love it. All right, y'all. We'll see you in your dreams.